Hello, team. It's time for the Daily Detangler. And I want to share a little bit about what I'm seeing with the team figuring stuff out. A lot of great activity over the weekend, and I saw Clarity is making some progress in Catalyst Eyes, which is great. And I saw the architect angle come out, and a lot of back and forth. It's been great to see. And let me ask you a question. Do you think we're figuring stuff out? I think we are. I think when you look at how we're coming together and being engaged and working on things, it's quite a interesting and actionable view, and that's great to see. And when you look at that, I want to talk about how we're creating something from nothing, the tipping point on some of our ideas, and understanding the moment, embracing the moment. This has to do with stone soup. And in that story, how did those kids create something from nothing? How does Catalyst do that? Where did IQVIA come from? Where do these keynotes come from? Where do these webinars come from? What about architect and the mindset shifts? Where did those come from? What about the activator avenues? Where do those come from? Or Clarity's work? Where does a sale come from? Like Mimecast, like how did that happen? And where's the genesis of that? Or where did soup come from? Where does the soup come from in the story? And it came from nothing? Really? How does that happen? It came from nothing. What does that mean? I mean, let's take a, I was like, this is interesting. let me play this slow this down. And then I thought, well, there's a lot of stuff that comes from nothing in sales and marketing. I mean, jars come from nothing. So what's the difference between jars here and soup? Is this soup? Are these pots of soup? What do you think? Is it tasty? Tasty to who? Well, they came from nothing. What's the difference between these jars, though, and the commercial ratio? I mean, the commercial ratio came from nothing. What is that? How does that work? What's the difference? And I'm trying to paint a picture between the jar view and the commercial ratio on purpose. How different are those two? Technically, the jars and the commercial ratio came from nothing, but I don't know about you, but I see a massive, massive, massive difference, like beyond night and day, tectonic difference, whatever word can be described there for big. And I said, well, when I look at the commercial ratio or the webinars or a sale or mindset shifts and where they come from, there's a tipping point on our team. Obviously a tipping point of action and a tipping point of understanding, but there's also a tipping point of kind of embracing or adopting, like the book from Malcolm Gladwell. He talks about once an idea reaches a tipping point, it spreads like fire. Have we seen that happen on our team? I think we have, like stone soup. Now, obviously, the challenge is how do we get that to happen in IQVIA, or the broader market? But let's start with IQVIA and Jen's team. What are the ingredients for an idea to reach a tipping point on our team? What are those things? What happens? Just keeping it to our team, and then looking at from the tipping point book, 3 kinds of people are responsible for getting ideas to tip. There's the connectors. So who are the connectors on our team? There's the mavens. Who are the mavens on our team? And then there's the salespeople. Who are the salespeople on our team to activate or to um, tipping point, to get to a tipping point on our team where we're all embracing it together? Have we reached a tipping point on all concepts? What about engineering valuable sales conversation? Has that reached the tipping point on our team? What about um, the idea of the account value mapping? Has that reached the tipping point on our team? How many concepts have been in flight that have reached the tipping point? And what is the tipping point? It's the tipping point is a critical mass. It's a bringing together of people, process, information, technology at a moment in time, but then it becomes a stickiness. It's a stickiness of action, and the ideas in the reports or the ideas in the webinars become common language, and there's a unified perspective. There's a dot connecting that happens. And where have our ideas stuck on our team? Which ideas have stuck on our team? And what have you learned from the forms we're filling out? And when I look at that, this tipping point is critical to turning something into nothing. I mean, wait, no, from nothing into from nothing into something. From nothing into something. And it's about action. How does something get created from nothing? And in the stone soup scenario, to me, this is the moment. Now, this is the moment where, there's no food and they have to create something. These kids wanted to act. It's a critical moment. Have you been there before? I've been here before with like the concept I'm working on now, which is these knots, these team knots. Like it's at a critical moment. How do I connect it? How do I help the team see it? How do I help the team realize or view it from their perspective, and whack it like a piñata? And then how does it become sticky? Will it become sticky? All I can do is try to put it out there, but I also have to think about the connectors and the mavens and the salespeople on our team. And there's a lot of ideas like that. And I've seen others here too, like capability and activator and conceptor, these ideas that they have, and they want them to be sticky. So what is this moment? It's an amazing moment in stone soup, because to me, on the right, this kid wants the outcome. He's looking up in the sky, the outcome of trying to achieve the future, or bring a concept to life, or tackle a massive challenge. And he's got his camera and he's maybe looking through it to find perspective. And he's got his eye on the prize. And then what's happening with the kid on the left? What's he doing? What's he drawing? Is that a sea slide? Is he actually drawing a sea slide? How is that happening? And how do these two things come together? One drawing, something that can be seen and embraced and engaged and looked at and maybe become sticky as a map, and building the sea slide. What is that moment? What is that moment between the two? You just draw that. There's the moment. What is that? And what is the moment of creating something from nothing? And I think about what my own background and this idea of creating something from nothing was just putting out knowledge or putting out stuff. And in my background, also this idea of putting things out that really map to and embrace the status quo. But in this idea, we're talking about possibility of breaking down the status quo and busting through it. So the moment is about change, and it's about doing something different, not about, oh, let me anchor and reinforce on the past. And I think our team is learning a lot about that. I mean, we have a lot of stones, right? Literally and figuratively. And we have a lot of ideas. So if this stone is an idea, and we're gonna, bring it out, and we want it to be sticky, maybe there's a stone can become different types of impact. Like maybe there's tasks that happen around a stone, like chopping the ingredients, or maybe the stone becomes a single pot of soup. But what if the stone were to become an ongoing pot or many pots of soup? And how does that happen? And how do these stones become impact over time? And that's a critical moment. And what is that? Right. And I was like, if I draw just a distinction here, there's a difference between figuring things out on the C slides and then getting it done. And both of these are rooted in the outcome and the impact and the vision. And how do I cross that threshold to embrace both at the same time? Because if I'm just focused on figuring it out, I won't ever get anything done. And then if I'm maniacally focused on just getting it done, I'll be disconnected from what we figure out. And that's what the moment is. It's this balancing act here to me. And in the webinars, Catalyst would talk about that moment as stratocution, and this idea of these situations that require both strategy and tactics. And that's what I see the kids doing in the stone soup. They're stratocuting, and they're trying to do the right things, and they're trying to do those things right. The doing things right is completely different. They orchestrated. They didn't do it by themselves. So what is that stone soup stratocution, right? I'm curious about that. Is it the idea of bringing together to figure it out, where there's this reality that knocking on doors doesn't work, and there's this understanding that we can't make people engage, and then the background and past effort, what has that led to? For the context, what's happening? We're under a tree, but how did we get here? And then there's the team dynamics. These kids trusted each other, and they leaned into each other back to back, and they figured it out, and they got stuff done. And on the get it done side, what are they getting done? Are they getting done just a bunch of throwing whatever into the pot? Did they just grab sticks and leaves and twigs, whatever happened to be laying around, because they had to get it done fast, and they had to move quickly, and they had to get it done? So let's throw it in there. So let's get it in there, throw it in there. Anybody got any water? Let's go, go, go. We got people coming, got another bout of soup. No, they slowed down and they said, what's our vision for eating? How would we approach this? And I think that's critical. How did they approach the stone soup? It's completely different. And then what actions did they take? And that's strategy and tactics. And that's how the moment came together. And that moment became the situation that allowed them, to achieve success. So if the situation is we're hungry, we need to eat, how do they manage that moment of we have to do both? It's through the experience and the experience that they created. And that's what I see in this, moment of these kids back to back, and that managing that. And I've seen that before when I look at, just managing that. I mean, that space for me is tough because the gap between figuring it out and getting it done, there's a lot. There's, from the being brilliant every day, there's the physiology. So what inputs, then there's the emotion, and the emotion of this situation and this moment and this moment management. The emotions can go really high for me. And, how do I keep my emotions in check and stay balanced between figuring it out and getting it done? Because that drives my feelings, whether it's joy or sadness or anger. And then those three, the inputs I get, the physiology, the emotions of the moment, and feeling in the moment, that drives how I think and behave, and ultimately my performance. And that's a critical component of getting stuff done and figuring it out. And the best picture I've seen of this is the backward bike, where Dustin is trying to figure out how to relearn how to ride the bike. So he had broken himself. So that was the whole process. If you remember the backward bike, he was learning how to ride the bike backward, and the gear was different. And then he said, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to learn how to ride a bike regular again. I'm going to learn how to do it regular again. And he put himself through that, and he managed his feelings and his emotions, and he created another moment, and he had to figure it out and get it done. And here's what that looked like.
Okay, now I'm in Amsterdam, a city that has more bicycles than people. The question is, can I ride a normal bike now? I mean, I've spent all this time unlearning how to ride a bike. If I go back and try to ride a normal one, will my brain mess up? So I've tweeted a Smarter Everyday meetup, if you will, and I'm going to see if somebody brings a bicycle, and I'm going to try to ride a normal bike. It's backwards, it's backwards.
This was one of the most frustrating moments of my life. I had ridden a normal bike since I was 6, but in this moment, I couldn't do it anymore. I had set out to prove that I could free my brain from a cognitive bias. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that all I proved is that I could only redesignate that bias.
So what you're not seeing is just a group of people here looking at me, looking at the strange American that can't ride a bike because they think I'm dumb. But I'm actually 2 levels deep into this because I've learned and unlearned. All right.
After 20 minutes of making a fool out of myself, suddenly my brain clicked back into the old algorithm. I can't explain it, but it happened in a very specific moment.
I got it. I'm back. Oh, it clicked. Hold on, it clicked. I got it. Okay, there it is. There was the moment. Okay, I can ride a bike.
I tried to explain this to the people around me, and they just didn't get it. They thought I was faking the previous 20 minutes, and I couldn't get anybody to believe me.
That looked like I faked that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Just a fake. You think I'm faking. You don't believe me.
That's so weird. You were like, la la la, and it's full.
You think I'm lying, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I'm not lying.
So he caught the moment right there. And did you see before and after, right? Look at all the figuring it out, and look at how he had to get it done to bring that moment together in that experience. And that's what I see in the Stone Soup story at that moment. And they had to figure that out. And look at the courage that it takes to do that. He's doing it publicly, and Dustin putting himself out there, and he's 2 layers deep in that. But he has a lot of courage to figure that out. And I think those kids had a lot of courage to do it as well. And that's the key for today, is just a reminder to embrace the moments. Change happens one moment at a time. And there is a lot of stuff to figure out, and there is a lot of things to get done. But recognize where the moments happen and enjoy them. They're not only life-changing, they're exciting and fun. And I enjoy seeing them. And I love seeing the moments that the team creates together. So that's been your daily detangler. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care.